It is Friday, September 21st, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very fun, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. I gotta tell you, man, doing this show and doing this preamble, I don't know if it's because somebody's listening to it, but, you know, honestly, I feel like it's Christmas every time I've been going into Jiu-Jitsu. It's like, I make a wish here, and then it mysteriously appears in Jiu-Jitsu class. Like I said, I don't know if it's because somebody's listening. I don't really care. It was awesome. We got some takedowns in today, and I need takedown practice, and it was just with the doctor ordered. I had a lot of fun, and I tried to pay attention a lot to my foot positioning in reference to my my opponent, and I really think that's something that a lot of people discount when they're considering their takedowns. And I see it a lot in even MMA, where it seems like people just aren't watching their footing. You know, like they'll have the same lead forward. You know, they'll have the right forward, and their opponent will have their left forward. And they'll go in for a double leg, and it's no, that's a single leg. You know, if you want to go into the double leg, swap your leads, and then you can get that leg right in between theirs and up and over. You know, with that double leg. Unfortunately, I did not get any double legs right. I don't know if it was because of the size of my opponent in reference to myself, but I kept running him over. He was a bit smaller than me. I think if I were doing that with Emilio, who's fucking huge, I think it would have been a little bit different. I probably wouldn't have been as prone to running him over, and I probably would have been paying even more attention to my foot positioning, because even though the man claims to be like a water polo player, I'm sorry, the guy is built like a fucking Adonis, and he's like, I don't know, like 6'2", and he's just a big guy. Just a big guy, you know? I mean, bigger than me, okay? You know, when I tap hands with him, I'm like looking at the size of his hand in comparison to mine. I'm like, this guy's just a bigger guy. Just a bigger guy, period. He's got like 15-20% on me on everything. And so it's like I'm always afraid to work with him, but I worked with him today, and he's the kindest, gentlest dude in the whole world. But I could just imagine if you pissed him off, he'd probably rip you a new asshole. Anyway, like I said, I had a lot of fun, and I did have to take a mild break after working with Alice, because the dude is fast. He was a little slower on the draw today, but I mean, he came in looking like he just rolled out of bed. So that could have been the case. I don't know. Guy could have just put in a really busy day. Either way, he wasn't as aggressive as I've known him to be. So. Yeah, like I said, it was a lot of fun, though. He's a very technical player, and he's very, very fast. And so you really got to watch with him. But yeah, like I said, we were doing some takedowns, and the double leg that we were doing, like I said, I was just running over my opponent or my partner or whatever, and like I said, I think it was because he was about a foot shorter than me, and I think I outweigh him by like 40 to 60 pounds easy. So it's just like, oh, dough meet steamroller, dough meet steamroller, dough meet steamroller for about 2 minutes. and you know, like I said, I think the only thing I tried to go a little bit slower in the last few, because I really wanted to concentrate on my entry into the takedown and watch where I was putting my foot, that I wasn't ending up in the right position. Because like I said, I kept ending up right up under his armpit and just like running him over. He didn't even have half guard. I mean, like, I ran him over. But yeah, it was a good practice nonetheless. But we did a really interesting Shark Tank, and I honestly really, really liked it, because it was very fast. And the idea was this, that you had one guy who two guys were attacking. Right, you got one guy on one side, one guy on the other side, and one guy goes in, gives two swings, and then the guy in the middle has to try and take him down, and then mount, and then submit, and then the next guy has to attack him like right after that. And we did that for about 3 minutes, and like I said, it was a really nice paced thing for me. I found it, and it was funny. I was with the coach in my team because we were doing teams of 3, and so like as soon as the other guy got on him and got off of me, like as soon as I tapped, I was up. I'm ready to get right back on him as soon as he managed to submit the other guy. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun. Anywho, I got a shit ton of tabs open on my browser. We got more than enough material to get us through the night. I got one paper here. It's like 42 pages. So if we really had to, we could rely just on that. But anyway, seeing as it is Friday, and I love playing this song in particular, I'm going to do it just because it's Friday. And so here we go. It's going to be our first dance for the day, Megadeth. And those of you who know this show know it well. Good morning, Black Friday. Although it was very green for a lot of us today. Here on Coin Metal, first dance. And that was some old school Meshuggah there, Future Breed Machine. And I was listening to that song, and I was thinking about this little Twitter twat I got into with somebody today about, and it was just like this event, and it was like something about black blockchain or something like that. And it kind of put me off, and mostly because, and I go through great pains on this show to indicate this, that that there's this some sort of perception out there, and I don't know who's responsible for it, but I'd really like to slap them until they wake the fuck up. But there's this perception out there that crypto is just white guys. It's white guys between 18 and 90 years old. And that's just not the case. That is just not the fucking case. China represented a lot more influence in the crypto sphere before their government started getting all butthole. And there's not a whole lot of white people in that constituency. I'm sorry. It just underrepresented there. And I really take exception to it because the fact of the matter is that there is no barrier to entry anymore. Do you look at what's going on in Bitcoin and say, there's something wrong with this, I don't really like it? If that's what's going on between your ears concerning Bitcoin, you need to start learning to code. Because then you can go through the code of Bitcoin, fix the things you think are causing the fuck up, and then re-release it as another coin that is perfectly legal and legitimate for you to do. It's called open source. Now, you can't call it Bitcoin, of course. You'll have to find a new original name for your project. But it is entirely permissible to take the code, modify it as you wish, and then redistribute it. However, I will tell you this. If you are going to go through the trouble of learning to code, it would be better to code it yourself. Because as we've found out recently, when you port something directly over from somebody else's stuff, you unfortunately acquire their bugs as well. And we've been seeing this tit for tat between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, where Bitcoin, the Bitcoin dev will be looking through the Bitcoin Cash code, and for some reason or another he's looking through the code, and he manages to find a significant bug, and he reports it. Now that whole event right there, the fact that he would report it rather than just simply take advantage of the bug, right, and make Bitcoin Cash look bad, the fact that he would report it, that should indicate to you right there that this is a community of coins. We do have, ultimately, a mutual interest here. And it's those that are mature enough to see above the little divisions that society tries to implant between us, between age groups, between genders, between races, between nationalities and religions and all that other bullshit. People that can just take a look at it from a more objective perspective. You know, does your code work? Does it do what you say it does? And does it do it how you say it does it? If so, I might evaluate it and think, God damn, that's the greatest fucking idea I've ever seen. I am going to implement it. I am going to mine that coin. I am going to transact in that coin. I am going to save my monetary value in that coin. Now, do I give a fuck that the person who wrote the code has a vagina between their legs? No. Do I give a fuck that the person who wrote the code is black? No. Do I give a fuck that the person who wrote the code is a rabid Scientologist? No. I don't give a fuck. What I give a fuck about is, does the transaction clear? Is the transaction valid? Are the funds in my wallet? That's it. I don't care if you're rich. I don't care if you're poor when you wrote the code. I don't give a fuck. Get in the fucking game, kid. There ain't no barrier to entry. You know, it saddens me that anybody is entertaining that kind of perspective here. Really, you know, I don't see the relevance. I don't really see the relevance. I mean, really, does it matter to you if I'm, you know, if I'm gay or if I'm straight or if I'm a female or if I'm a female planning or trying to be a male, or if I'm a male trying to be a female, or if I'm wearing a dress right now, if I'm butt naked right now? Does any of this shit matter to you? No. What matters to you is the coin going up in value while it's in my portfolio? If so, I'm fucking happy! I mean, come on now. Gotta get over that shit. It's just a bunch of bullshit. You can't fucking divide yourself like that, man. You can't entertain that shit. You don't. You literally cannot afford to be thinking that way in this fucking space. I'm sorry. You can't afford it. It's costing you money to think that way. It's keeping you from getting involved further. It's keeping you from doing more in this space that will enrich your life more later on. You know, you are the market. You are the interest base here. Period. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are. You can literally be Janet Yellen as far as determining the monetary policy of a currency unit that is transacted all over the fucking planet. That is what you can do right now. You can be fucking writing code right now for a new coin that nobody's ever seen. And it's never functioning like any other coin out there. It's going to be better for mining, gonna get more transactions throughput, gonna be better for adoption, whatever. Going to be easier for your grandma to use, although I really have a lot of trouble understanding why scan, enter, send is something my grandmother couldn't do. Give me a fucking break, kids. The only barrier to entry here is perceptual. What do you think you can do? And fuck, I think I can do anything. Anyway, let's go ahead and get down into some articles here. And I've got a bunch, and it all centers around this idea, and I think maybe you'll kind of get down to it if I present this correctly. God damn. Bitcoin was up to 6,800 today. Nice! Fucking, no, that's not it. I gotta couch this right, man, because there's a lot here, you know. And you know what, we're just gonna go through it, because I really see this kind of effort right here that I'm going to read to you about. I see this effort as an effort to maintain those barriers that I was just talking about really that will inhibit your economic viability in the future. And I think it's really unfortunate, but We're seeing it unfold in places, and what's going to be really interesting over the next 2 years is going to be the public response to it. So far, it seems to me that the public response is to keep doing what I did yesterday. Just do it via VPN or other service that allows me to circumvent your monitors. Continuing on, this is on The Intercept. Google suppresses memo revealing plans to closely track search users in China. This is by Ryan Gallagher and Li Fang. I'm going to assume that's double penis. September 21st, 2018 at 10:18 a.m. No indication of time zone, so they could have been in Azerbaijan when they wrote this. Google bosses have forced employees to delete a confidential memo circulating inside the company that revealed explosive details about a plan to launch a censored search engine in China. The Intercept has learned. The memo, authored by a Google engineer who was asked to work on the project, disclosed that the search system, codenamed Dragonfly, would require users to log in to perform searches, track their location, and share the resulting history with a Chinese partner who would have, quote, unilateral access to the data. Wow. The memo was shared earlier this month among a group of Google employees who had been organizing internal protests over the censored search system, which has been designed to remove content that China's authoritarian Communist Party regime views as sensitive, such as information about democracy, human rights, and peaceful protests, probably Bitcoin prices too. According to 3 sources familiar with the incident, Google leadership discovered that the memo and were furious that secret details about the China censorship were being passed between employees who were not supposed to have any knowledge about it. Subsequently, Google human resources personnel emailed employees who were believed to have accessed or saved copies of the memo and ordered them to immediately delete it from their computers. Emails demanding deletion of the memo contained, quote, pixel trackers that notified human resource managers when their messages had been read, recipients determined. The Dragonfly memo reveals that a prototype of the censored search engine was being developed as an app for both Android and iOS devices and would force users to sign in so they could use the service. The memo confirms, as The Intercept first reported last week, that user searches would be associated with their personal phone number. The memo adds that Chinese users' movements would also be stored, would be stored along with the IP address of their device and links they clicked on. It accuses developers working on the project of creating, quote, spying tools for the Chinese government to monitor its citizens. Oh, they're doing more than that. People's search histories, location information, and other private data would be sent out of China to a database in Taiwan, the memo states. But the data would also be provided to employees of a Chinese company who would be granted, quote, unilateral access to the system. To launch the censored search engine, Google set up a quote, joint venture partnership with an unnamed Chinese company. The search engine would, quote, blacklist sensitive queries so that, quote, no results will be shown at all when people enter certain words or phrases, according to documents seen by The Intercept. Blacklisted search terms on a prototype of the engine include human rights, student protest, and Nobel Prize in Mandarin, said sources familiar with the project. According to the memo, aside from being able to access users' search data, the Chinese partner company could add the censorship blacklists. It would be able to, quote, selectively edit search result pages unilaterally and with few controls seemingly in place. That a Chinese company would maintain a copy of user search data means that, by extension, the data would be accessible to Chinese authorities who have broad powers to obtain information that is held or processed on the country's mainland. A central concern human rights groups have expressed about Dragonfly is that it could place users at risk of Chinese government surveillance. Yeah, okay. And any person in China searching for blacklisted words or phrases could find themselves interrogated or detained and reprogrammed. Chinese authorities are well known for routinely targeting critics, activists, and journalists. Fuck, like the US isn't. Give me a break. It's alarming to hear that such information will be stored and potentially easily shared with the Chinese authorities, said Patrick Poon, a Hong Kong-based researcher with the human rights group Amnesty International. Quote, "It will completely put users' privacy and safety at risk. Google needs to immediately explain if the app will involve such arrangements. It's time to give the public full transparency of the project." On August 16th, 2 weeks after The Intercept revealed the Dragonfly plan, Google CEO Sundar Pichai told the company's employees that the China plan was in its, quote, early stages and exploratory. However, employees working on the search engine were instructed in late July, days before the project was publicly exposed, that they should prepare to get into a, quote, launch-ready state to roll out within weeks, pending approval from officials in Beijing. The memo raises new questions about Pichai's claim that the project was not well developed. Information stored on the company's internal networks about Dragonfly, quote, paints a very different picture. It says the statement from our high-level leadership that Dragonfly is just an experiment seems wrong. The memo identifies at least 215 employees who appear to have been tasked with working full-time on Dragonfly, a number it says is, quote, larger than many Google projects. It says that source code associated with the project dates back to May of 2017 and, quote, many infrastructure parts predate that, meaning they turned evil a long time ago. Moreover, screenshots of the app, quote, show a project in a pretty advanced state, the memo declares. Most of the details about the project, quote, have been secret from the start. The memo says that, adding that after the existence of Dragonfly leaked, engineers working on the project were also quick to hide all of their code. The author of the memo said in the document that they were opposed to the China censorship. However, they added, quote, more than the project itself, I hate the culture of secrecy that has been built around it. The memo first posted September 5th on an internal messaging list set up for Google employees to raise ethical concerns. But the memo was soon scrubbed from the list, and the individuals who had opened or saved the document were contacted by Google's Human Resources Department to discuss the matter. You like working here, right? The employees were instructed not to share the memo. Google reportedly maintains an aggressive security and investigation team known as Stop Leaks, which is dedicated to preventing unauthorized disclosures. The team is said to monitor internal discussions. Internal security efforts at Google have ramped up this year as employees have raised ethical concerns around the range of new company projects. Following the revelation by Gizmodo and The Intercept that Google had quietly begun work on a contract with the military last year known as Project Maven to develop automated image recognition systems for drone warfare. Oh, Jesus Christ. You're going to be assassinating people based on images they find off of Google. The communications team moved swiftly to monitor employees' activity. The quote stop leaks team, which coordinates with the internal Google communications department, even began monitoring an internal image board used to post messages based on internet memes, according to one former Google employee, for signs of employee sentiment around the Project Maven contract. Google's internal security team consists of a number of former military and law enforcement officials. For example, LinkedIn lists as Google's head of global investigations Joseph Vincent, whose resume includes work as a high-ranking agent in the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency's Homeland Security Investigations Unit. The head of security at Google is Chris Rakow, who has described himself as a former member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Hostage Rescue Team and as a former U.S. Navy SEAL. For some Google employees, the culture of secrecy at the company clashes directly with its public image around fostering transparency, creating an intolerable work environment. Quote, leadership misled engineers working on Dragonfly about the nature of their work, depriving them of moral agency, said a Google employee who read the memo. Google did not respond to a request for comment on this story. Yeah. Okay. I gotta tell you, it was probably time to abandon Google like 2 years ago. And I'll tell you, the last email account I set up was not with Google. It's kind of obvious that they went evil a long time ago. And as this article indicates, it seems that the roots for this system have been well invested. Now, the scary part is this, and I think you guys should take note of it, is this, that just because they're using it in China doesn't mean that that's the only place that they're using it. The chances are that they're using it on everybody. Everybody who has a Google account is being subjected to this bullshit. Every single one of you. And so, what I think it's far easier to just track everybody's information and just record everybody's information preemptively, and then when it gets taken to court or whatever, you have a meeting with some legislators and you say, look, man, you could pursue this and let this court case go forward, or we can disseminate pictures of you and your mistress, or you and your homo lover, or your daughter and her 30-year-old boyfriend, or your wife smoking crack, or taking pills, or buying pills off a guy off a corner, because we're all tapped into the fucking CCTV cameras, we're tapped into the satellites, we've got all that shit down. We've been monitoring you for years. We've got your phone number. We've got your email account. We've got everything. We've got your GPS data for the last 10 years since you've had a Gmail account. And so that's just what the picture is shaping up as. After the founders of Google were bought off and kind of kicked out of the company, they've been going less and less about providing a good service and more about monitoring and monetizing your ass, pretty much to the highest bidder, and they really don't have any ethics or morals about who they sell your information to or what information they're actually selling. I try to make an effort to make sure that all of the video cameras in all of my devices are not pointed at me while I'm doing anything. Usually I'm pointing either up at the ceiling or at the flat surface that they're laying on. One of the two. Even if they have two cameras. One is up, one is down. Because I honestly take exception to this bullshit. It's making it to where, we're talking about, if you stay with the mainstream services such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, online, you're basically going to be tracked. And it's not about providing you for information. It's not about providing you safety. It's about maintaining the balance of power between you and the government, and you and Google, and you and other corporations. They want to keep you as a serf, and they want to be a tool to that end. Now, that alone tells me that I need to cancel all my Google accounts. I need to change all my Google shit, all my shit from Google to something else, because I take exception to that. I really do. And I think that more people will. And that we're, just as Bitcoin came along to resolve a financial issue, that we're going to see somebody arise out of the ashes who's less interested in containing you than they are breaking down barriers for you and allowing you access to all of the information that's available via the internet. And that really is the battle that's going on. I think that, this whole thing with Cody Wilson, how many times have we seen this before, where somebody will say something, somebody will do something, and next thing you know, they're being brought up on some weird sex charges, or they were found with somebody who they, socially it's not gauche for them to be with, or some shit like that. They get socially tarred and feathered, or criminally persecuted or prosecuted. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing with Cody Wilson. And there are people that will, say that I'm defending some asshole or whatever, but the fact of the matter is he's in multiple court cases right now that will radically alter the freedoms that we currently have with regard to firearms and the dissemination of information on the internet. Now, does that excuse him if he did in fact sexually assault a woman? Fuck no, it doesn't. But I'll tell you what, given the way that Julian Assange has been treated, given the way that Ross Ulbricht has been treated, I think it's just as likely that we're seeing a hang-up job with regard to Cody Wilson. I mean, and that's just my own feelings on it. Like I said, how many times have we seen it before? It's like, I think about it, and it's like, it's kind of obvious why Satoshi Nakamoto left, because he would have been in that position in 2012, where it would come out that he raped somebody or whatever, and then Bitcoin itself would be stained by his personal record, and where he selflessly said, you know what, rather than take Bitcoin down with me, here you go, folks, everybody got Bitcoin now, it's all yours, have fun, I'm outie. It was the smartest fucking thing he did, short of releasing Bitcoin. Because, I'm sure as soon as he heard that one of the people involved in the project was talking to the CIA, and I think that was Gavin Andreessen or one of them, it's like, okay, time to pull up tent stakes that were infiltrated. Bye-bye. Have fun. But like I said, and again, I think it was the smartest thing he did. Because if he had any criminal record for anything, he would be painted the worst he could possibly be pictured as. We'd find pictures of him, when he was 16 years old, fucking shooting up in a fucking alleyway or something like that before he got his fucking life turned around or something like that. But that would be the image that everybody had of Satoshi Nakamoto, is some fucking junkie nodding off in a fucking alleyway. And that would be the image that everybody has of Bitcoin. So you really got to take a look at it. I see evidence all the time that there's all kinds of chicanery going on in my government. So when they baselessly seem to accuse somebody of something really bad, I have to draw it into question. It's like Julian Assange. This whole FBI bullshit with regard to Trump and Russia, that's exactly what it is. some analysts got together, some former NSA and CIA and FBI analysts got together, and they did a report. And I read it, and they pretty much discerned that there was no Russian hacking going on. What had happened was Seth Green leaked some information from the DNC servers to WikiLeaks. And WikiLeaks disseminated it to the public, and then shortly thereafter, Seth Green mysteriously died. So we don't have anybody to speak to that. But that's what happened, and that's pretty much what was in their report, was that there was no hacking, there was no bullshit like that. It's all a bunch of bullshit that you're seeing in the media. What was really happening was that there was an internal leak inside the DNC, and he was leaking information to WikiLeaks. And then what happened to WikiLeaks? Where's Julian Assange? He's fucking holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy. They got him completely trapped off from the world. They got him incommunicado and whatnot. But look at the treatment that he's received for that. And all he really did was what reporters are supposed to do. Even in the United States, we have this thing called the First Amendment, and it's supposed to protect unpopular speech. Not just speech you like. You don't like that Hillary didn't win? I'm sorry. There were enough people that voted for Trump that the man got in. And that's really all we have to say about that. And honestly, I think we're better off for it. I think we would be fucking up to our waist in Iranian blood right now, or it'd be the opposite, the other way around. If China and Russia were significant enough in their forces that they could intervene and wage that, turn the tide of the battle the other way. Fuck. We'd probably be defending the homeland about now if Hillary had won. That's my feeling. Because China represents way too much of our fucking economic activity here for us to be going to fisticuffs with them. And worse than that, this is something I think that is really, really weird, is that we've been outsourcing a lot of our high-tech stuff to China. And China, they don't have the same separation between government and companies as we supposedly do. That line is a little bit blurred in some places, even here in the United States. But the point being that theirs is a more direct and intrinsic connection. And so when we send, when Northrop Grumman sends, hardware specs and whatnot to China to be processed in one of their Chinese fabs because it's going to be cheaper over there, the specs and the schematics for that shit are getting disseminated to the Chinese government. I don't give a fuck what kind of barriers and departmentalization that you've got going on. It's worthless. We've already seen evidence of this. I've read articles here on the fucking internet about certain things that were received from China. There was one, it was like a missile guidance system or something like that, and it went gunny bags on this one project, and it was because they opened it up and they found shit that was basically available on the shelf at Radio Shack in this missile, this mil-spec missile. So that's like a fuck you. That's a we're onto your shit. We've got the designs, we've got the complete schematics, and we probably got a line of them in our military right now, and we're fucking training with the goddamn things while you are still in your prototyping phase. Because we are doing the shit. You gave us the schematics, and we ran with it. Come on now. And so the idea of getting into any kind of kinetic conflict with these people is just fucking silly. It's just fucking silly. Not only do they probably have backdoors to your shit, they probably got better shit that they didn't give you, that they didn't sell to you, that they made by studying the shit that you did send them. You know, you're going to be fighting with Gen 1. They've got Gen 5 coming at your ass. And that's a reality that's entirely possible. You know, and I've been watching this thing for about, 2 decades. So, you know, that's a lot of time. I mean, you just consider the evolution of Bitcoin over the last decade, and now throw into that the incentive of, if we get this as a better iteration than the one we're going to put to our buyers, then we might win the next kinetic conflict with them. That's hell of an incentive, folks. Anywho, back to our articles here. Apparently, Cody Wilson did get arrested. I didn't want to go into that too much because I have some even bigger news. And this one is on Bloomberg. So, you know, I mean, that's a mainstream kind of gig, right? So anyway, here it is. Brazil's biggest brokerage begrudgingly joins crypto market. This is by Felipe Marquez, authored September 20th, 2018, 2:31 p.m. PDT. Thank you, fucking Felipe. Thank you. So yes, penis. Brazil's biggest independent brokerage is officially joining the crypto craze, even if it preferred not to. Grupo XP, the owner of XP Investments SA, is launching an exchange for Bitcoin and Ethereum trading in the coming months. Chief Executive Officer Guilherme, I think I'm really mispronouncing that. My apologies, Guilherme. I don't know. Benchimol said at an event in Sao Paulo, around 3 million Brazilians have exposure to Bitcoin compared to only 600,000 that invest in stocks, according to him, pushing the firm to ventures into the business. Quote, I must confess, this is a theme I'd rather didn't exist, but it does. Benchimol said, quote, we feel obligated to start advancing in this market. God damn, yes you do. The exchange, which will be set apart from XP's other brokerage businesses, good, contain that contagion, is going to be up and running by Thiago Mafra. It will be called XDEX and have around 40 employees. This week, Brazilian regulators released a set of rules that allow funds to invest in crypto assets abroad with some limitations. In the past, Brazil's central bank chief Ian Goldfagen has compared cryptocurrency to a Ponzi scheme and a bubble. XP is aiming to have 1 trillion reals, $250 billion, under custody by 2020, 4 times what it expects to have by year-end. The brokerage is also launching a bank in the next few months, Benchimol said. The firm expanded rapidly over the past few years by offering online investment platforms to Brazil's growing middle class. Banking giant Itaú Unibanco Holding SA agreed to buy a minority stake in the company last year, a deal that valued it at 12 billion reals. God damn. And so there you have it, kids. Some of that mainstream adoption that you guys keep talking about, you know, this will undoubtedly introduce more Brazilians into the crypto market. And I think when they really get a hold of it, Brazil's in for a big fucking shock. Because Brazil and Brazilians, they love opportunities, man. I mean, they love opportunities. And crypto is full of fucking opportunities, man. So, I mean, I think that we've already seen a good response in South America, throughout the Americas, actually, with regard to cryptocurrencies and people adjusting to them as a means of doing their daily transactions to buy things like groceries and whatnot. So I think that we are going to see an even bigger encroachment now that we are seeing official banks, official national banks in Brazil getting into it. It's a fucking wonderful time to be alive, kids. Wonderful time. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music, because it's been a little while. You know, it's about that time. And as far as what to go with, though, I have not picked anything out. Fuck it. Suicidal Tendencies. Send me your money. Here on Coin Metal. And that was 12-Foot Ninja with One Hand Killing. God damn, I love that song. I mean, I love that song so much that I not only went out and bought Outlier, but after I listened to Outlier, I went and I went nuts. I bought everything that I could find by 12-Foot Ninja. I didn't buy any LPs. I got it all in CDs, but you know, it was one of those things where, you know, the internet gave me something good and I went with it. You know, it does happen. You know, and I think the part that confuses some in the music industry is that it's actually happening according to what people like, rather than what you stuffed in their ears for 12 hours while they were stuck at work and driving to and from work. And then stuffing into the sitcoms and the fucking TV shows and all this other bullshit. And they have no choice but to hear just that. And you get the impression after a while that, you know, that's the only fucking music that exists. You know, there's nothing else out there. You know, I like, what is it, fucking Madonna or, you know, Lil' Kim or any of these other fucking people, you know, because those are what I'm presented with. You know what? I've never bought anything by Eminem. You know why? His stuff doesn't turn me on. But I own everything by fucking 12-Foot Ninja. And that's because I go on the internet and I go to YouTube and I say, gosh, let's type in metal and hit enter. And you know, I know they are owned by Google, and there is that stain against them. And it does, in my mind, at least limit their viability as far as the timeline goes. But while we have them, and while they are still kind of useful, we still use them. You know, I post all my episodes up there, and as a matter of fact, I just got my last one up. If you didn't get an opportunity to be here with us Wednesday, you can go, or Monday, or any of the Monday, Wednesday, or Fridays previous to that, you can go onto my YouTube channel and find all of it there. Although I am contemplating putting my stuff elsewhere, because it does seem to me that there's going to be a MySpacing of a lot of these upper echelon internet services that I think that people are just going to simply object to being used like this anymore. You know, this is the internet allows things that we've never even fucking dreamed possible, and people are still want to play this fucking, oh, I live on this piece of mud stuck in a puddle, and so I can't talk to other people and I can't do business with other people on other piles of mud in the fucking puddle. Nope. I gotta restrict myself from them. I gotta restrict my people from doing business with them, because they might do some capital flight and suck some GDP out from under me. I'm sorry, man. We don't live in that time anymore. If people have access to the internet, that's Dunsky. You know, and as far as containing their searches by putting censorship in Google, well, fuck you. I can tell you right now, the Chinese that are intent on doing so are already circumventing those controls. And I expect that movement to continue into the future as well. You know, this idea of simply giving in to tyranny, you know, you've got all the tools of freedom all the way around you, but no, you're going to stay within the lines because, you know, it's beneficial for you, or it's less of a pain in the ass, or it just doesn't seem worth it to bother to try and maintain any kind of sovereignty over your use of the internet. Well, that's good for you. But I know for a fact there are people out there that don't accept that narrative. And in the longer term, you won't either. Because the things that we're talking about or cautioning against now will come to fruition. And then you'll be noticing it in your fucking Google searches, how you can't find anything that you're looking for that has terminology in it that somehow ideologically conflicts with the government of your country. And that's just not what the internet is for. And I think over the longer term, we're going to be finding that out. And anyway, continuing on, I got this article here. Apparently there was a hack recently. This is on ccn.com. It's authored approximately 51 minutes ago, and no indication of who actually authored it. It's usually a pretty good indication that it's from somewhere else. Let's check and verify. No. Anyway, no attribution, so couldn't tell you the gender. Anyway, continuing on. Not long after these successful hacking attempts on crypto exchanges Bithumb and Coincheck, Japan's Zafe was hacked, losing $60 million in user funds. All three exchanges were found to have poor security measures. Coincheck in particular, which lost more than $500 million in ZEM, the native cryptocurrency of NEM, outraged investors in Japan after the company's CEO, Kyoichiro Wada, admitted that the firm did not have enough security experts overseeing the exchange. Whatever. Quote, "We were aware we didn't have enough people working on internal checks, management, and system risk. We strived to expand using headhunters and agencies, but ended up in this situation," said Wada. The NEM team also stated in an official statement that while it has deployed an automatic tagging system to trace lost funds for investors of Coincheck, the team emphasized that the exchange had extremely poor security systems in place. Bithumb was similarly criticized by the government of South Korea and local security firms, which ultimately led to the exchange closing down for over a month and overhauling its internal management systems. Distributed exchanges can solve these issues. Ethereum-based decentralized crypto exchanges like IDEX utilize smart contracts on an immutable blockchain network to process trades in a peer-to-peer manner. Decentralized exchanges are protected from hacking attempts and security breaches because hackers cannot possibly hack into a peer-to-peer network. On a decentralized exchange like IDEX, users trade crypto with non-custodial wallets like Trezor, Ledger, and MetaMask. Hence, at all times, users have complete control over their funds by connecting their non-custodial wallets to exchanges. Funds do not leave the wallets of users unless trades are executed on the main net of Ethereum, which is irreversible. As such, user funds are never in danger or vulnerable to external attacks. Decentralized exchanges have already started to appeal to a niche group of traders that are interested in investing in newly launched crypto with low liquidity prior to their integration on centralized exchanges. Newly created ERC20 tokens and crypto deploy their assets on peer-to-peer digital asset trading platforms first to gain liquidity, as it costs no capital to do so, and then the aim for centralized exchange integration. As for user experience and usability, because most decentralized exchanges are compatible with Ethereum wallets, it is not that much more complex than centralized exchanges. When it requires several more steps, traders that are already technically literate can easily shift to decentralized alternatives. Can decentralized exchanges compete against centralized exchanges? Abso-fucking-lutely. As CCN reported, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Commissioner Hester Peirce previously stated that, quote, only a very particular type of investor can pursue the diversification opportunities such assets can provide, stating that it requires a specific set of skills and knowledge to trade cryptocurrencies in the market. Given that cryptocurrency trading on exchanges is already a niche market of its own, it is possible that with better user interface and more incentives, users will explore decentralized exchanges as alternatives. Actually, they'll be exploring them as mainstays, kids. Mainstays, not alternatives. Mainstays. And let's see. I'm just looking over some of the reviews here. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wow. Here we go. This one is Bitcoins and Gravy. Oh, man, you know, I really like to have that guy on the show. He's been at it for a really, really long time. Testing 1, 2, 3. Is anyone there? I guess CCN didn't get the memo from 2 years ago about the BitShares decentralized cryptocurrency exchange that has been alive and well for a long time now. Guys, how about hiring someone who actually knows the history of cryptocurrency / blockchain space instead of hiring an army of millennials who don't know their asses from their elbows? Just a thought. We're giving him a fucking upvote for that one. Goddamn right. Blue Protocol is the best non-custodial wallet, secure, simple, anti-phishing, and that was from just Mr. A DEX doesn't have to be Ether-based. There are other projects doing amazing things without Ethereum, and that was RJF. And Renee K, I'm aware of Blocknet and Komodo. Do you know others? I'm almost tempted to bookmark this just to see if there's any replies to that. Solid information, man. If you're trading out there and you're looking for a way to possibly circumvent a lot of AML KYC bullshit, you should probably look to decentralized exchanges, because it seems like that is a much better way to respond to these fucking honeypots and the security risk that they present to not only you but your funds as well as your transaction records. I don't know. Hold on one moment. I dropped my mouse. But yeah, I do see a migration further into decentralized exchanges as being the case, simply because, again, the centralized systems, we're going to continue to see hacks on them. So at least shifting some of your portfolio to more decentralized / OTC options is certainly an advisable path. And I would imagine you could probably avoid a lot of the arbitrage issues that we have between us and other countries. Like, you know, I read that report from Turkey, and they were talking about Bitcoin selling for like the equivalent of $30,000 US. Now, I am absolutely certain somebody has figured out a way to siphon out some of the Bitcoin from their Coinbase exchange account and put it into the hands of a Turkish citizen in Turkey that's allowed to then make a profit on it, selling it into their systems. I'm almost positive this has happened. I'd be really surprised if we don't see exactly that happening from miners, because they are the initial owners of the coin, right? They could decide, hey, you know what? I don't like the price that I'd be getting if I sold this in the US. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my friend in Turkey make an account, and I'm going to sell my Bitcoin to him. He's going to put the Bitcoin on the exchange. He's going to sell the Bitcoin for $30,000 equivalent in like Ethereum or something like that. And then, you know, he'll sell it for whatever fiat exchange currency he's got on his exchange, and then sell that for Ethereum or some other coin and then sell it back to me. Give me back a significant profit in whatever it is. So, I sell it to him for $20,000. He sends me $30,000 in Ethereum, right? That he's made from selling that Bitcoin into his system, and then, of course, getting a profit there. And then, converting it back to Ethereum, probably making a profit there, and then putting the Ethereum in your hot little hands, which you can then send to your Coinbase account and sell for US dollars. There you go. Freebie. But I'm almost positive this shit is already happening. That's the only reason I'm even talking about it. I've seen evidence that this has been happening for the last 3 to 4 years now. As soon as they started talking about bringing AML KYC into crypto exchange accounts, that was it. It was off to the races with how do we divest ourselves from this fucking honeypot situation where our funds can get hacked and our personal information, our transaction information, our financial information could now be subject to the review by some regulatory agency, either now or in retrospect. This is what's happening, and I congratulate people for getting into that, because it's another one of those places where regulation, especially in cryptocurrencies, I feel at least, is about one thing and one thing only. Because we run the most transparent fucking financial networks that have ever been deployed on this fucking planet, right? There's only one reason for regulation in cryptocurrencies, and that is maintaining current interests. So like Goldman Sachs, maintaining their interests. The Federal Reserve, maintaining their interests. That's it. It's keeping rich people rich and poor people poor. That's all it is. I don't give a fuck how they spin it. I don't care what they say to you on a speech. I don't care what they write in a legislation. It is about one thing. It is about keeping poor people poor and rich people rich. Unfortunately, for a lot of people that are interested in keeping it that way, these tools, such as decentralized exchanges, they eliminate a great deal of the friction that people would experience otherwise. And so the idea of keeping poor people poor when they're able to trade on these same exchanges that people that are interested in hiding their transactive activity, i.e. financial institutions, i.e. politicians, they're just as eager to hide their shit as anybody else is. You really think they want us digging around in their shit? No, they don't. So, of course, they probably have proxies that are trading on decentralized exchanges as well. You can almost count on it. And it's because they're people. People are doing this shit. People are the market for this shit. And that's not just rich people, and it's not just poor people, it's not just black people or white people or fucking homo people or trans people or any people. People. It's about all people. And the sooner everybody gets that through their fucking heads, the better off we will be. I mean, I know from my own perspective where I have self-selected myself out of some of this stuff, only because I thought it was too daunting. But you know what? That's my own fear talking, and I know that. And you got to know that too, that it is your own fear talking. And that's all it is. It's not an actual failure. It is not actual doom. It is not actual prison sentences. It is not actual financial anarchy. Those are your fears. And you got to face them. And you got to get into this shit, kid, because it's time. Anyway, I got this next article here, and it's on the same subject, but I want to focus on the financial regulators end of it here. And this one's on altcointoday.com. Japanese regulators urgently respond to Zafe's hack. This is authored September 21st, 2018. No indication of who, so we don't know who they are. Anyway, continuing on. Japanese regulator urgently respond to Zafe's hack. Following the hack of Zafe, one of Japan's regulated crypto exchanges, the country's financial regulator immediately responded, launching an emergency inspection of the exchange and a survey of all other crypto exchanges. Finance Minister Taro Aso has also commented on the situation. In addition, the recently established self-regulatory body has asked all exchanges to inspect their systems. FSA launches emergency inspection. Japan's top financial regulator, the Financial Services Agency, has responded to the hack of Zafe, one of its regulated crypto exchanges. Japan only has 16 exchanges registered with the FSA. Zafe announced on Thursday, September 20th, Japan time, that it was hacked on September 14th, but noticed the breach on September 17th. The exchange claims that at least 5,966 Bitcoin were stolen and estimates that the total damage to be approximately 6.7 billion yen, which is approximately $60 million. Other than Bitcoin, it believes that some Bitcoin Cash and Mono were also stolen. Following Zafe's announcement, the FSA immediately launched an emergency inspection of the exchange, according to local media. The Manichichi Shimbun reported, or Manichichi? My apologies on the mispronunciation there. The FSA inspected the company's base in Osaka on the same day in order to confirm the circumstances. We will examine in detail the exchange's safety management system, etc. The news outlet added that on the same day, the Financial Services Agency launched a simultaneous survey on the customer's property management situations of all virtual currency exchange operators. The Japanese regulator is still dealing with the aftermath of Coincheck's hack in January, when hackers stole 8 billion yen, approximately $534 million, worth of the cryptocurrency NEM. Since then, the agency has stepped up its oversight of crypto exchanges, including on-site inspections. Last month, it revealed the result of the inspection of 23 crypto exchanges, which shows many problems. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Taro Aso was also quoted by Nikkei speaking at a press conference after the cabinet meeting on September 21st, Japan time. No indication of the actual time. It is regrettable that virtual currency of about 6.7 billion yen leaked from illegal access from the virtual currency exchange company Tech Bureau. There is a problem with its system and governance. We will grasp the actual situation and conduct administrative responses necessary for user protection. Dude, your user protections are what caused this shit to begin with. Continuing on. Third business improvement order. Following Zafe's hack announcement, Reuters reported that the FSA is considering issuing a third business improvement order to Tech Bureau, the operator of Zafe. The firm has already received 2 business improvement orders, one in March and another in June. However, the news outlet noted, quote, even with repeated administrative sanctions, strengthening of the exchange's internal control system did not proceed. The Sankei Shimbun quoted an investigator saying, quote, I am overly concerned about Zafe's security, noting that the situation, quote, could repeat the same thing as the Coincheck incident. Response from self-regulatory body. The Japan Virtual Currency Exchange Association, JVCEA, has also issued a statement regarding the hack of Zafe. The association is a self-regulatory body whose members are the 16 registered crypto exchanges, including Tech Bureau. Quote, Although the situation is unknown at this time, our association will also request the company to take measures necessary for user protection, such as protection of user property and prompt disclosure of information. The president of the association, Taizen Okuyama, my apologies there, announced on September 20th. He added, also, in order to avoid the same situation, the association has requested all members to conduct emergency inspections of their virtual currency management systems. Exchanges self-inspecting. A number of crypto exchanges in Japan have made announcements about their own systems after the news of Zave's hack spread. Quote, in light of the recent theft of assets from Tech Bureau Corp., we have conducted an immediate inspection of our asset management systems. We detected no signs of unauthorized activity, Bitflyer claims. Japan's largest crypto exchange by trading volume has stopped accepting new customers since it received a business improvement order by the FSA in June. GMO Coin, the crypto subsidiary of Japan's internet giant GMO, has made an announcement in response to customers' inquiries about the possibility of theft from its platform. The exchange wrote, quote, We check customer balances and the balance of the virtual currency kept by our company every business day, and also check for the existence of theft and spill in the process of sorting and storing customers' virtual currency and our own virtual currency separately. We have confirmed that there is no problem even today, and in the past confirmed results. Another crypto exchange, BitPoint, has notified its customers that it has, quote, carried out urgent re-inspections and confirmed that no illegal outflow of virtual currency is taking place and that there are no problems with security measures. Yeah, and there's no messages on this one, or no responses on this one, but I will say this. I think that I think that Japan's regulators are probably creating the issue to begin with, in the way that they're trying to curate cryptocurrency, and I don't see that as being something that's going to change anytime soon. And it's sad to say that, because pardon me. I know that there's a tremendous amount of interest in Japan for cryptocurrencies, and there is, from what I understand, a great deal of actual adoption versus just speculators and whatnot. Although, from what I understand, there's plenty of that there too. So, I mean, they have the full Monty of crypto activity going on over there. And so, you know, it's unfortunate that people's funds were lost. But ultimately, I don't see that any kind of regulation. And shit, this was a regulated exchange, for Christ's sake. You know, the fact that they were regulated, and they probably gave every indication that they were in full compliance before they started receiving these improvement orders. That sent the signal to everybody out there that, hey, you know, it's safe to trade on here. And boom, what do you know? They lost $250 million worth of their customers' assets. Give me a fucking break. I mean, I know I keep saying that, but, you know, it's just beyond credibility. Not credibility. I think that's the wrong word. It's beyond my logic or rationale for this to be happening. You know, it seems like the hacks are happening more often the further regulators probe into cryptocurrency mining and also cryptocurrency exchanges. You know, and I don't think that's going to change either. That the corruption and the market abuse that we had endured before still exists. And the people that do it and have their hands in regulators and whatnot, they still exist. And I do think that there is going to be a greater shift to decentralized exchanges, just in the fact that they don't have, or at least from what I understand, most of them do not have the same AML KYC requirements that regulated exchanges do, or centralized exchanges do. You know, we've seen Shapeshift recently decide that they're going to start employing AML KYC, but at the same time, I'm sure there will be some other decentralized exchange option that will be newer and slicker and better interfaced than any previous. It'll probably even look like Crypsion or fucking Bittrex or Zafe or any one of these other exchanges that you're normally accustomed to dealing with. The only thing that'll be different is the custodial model behind it. That until your trade actually executes, you'll retain ownership of the funds, or possession, possession and ownership of the funds. So, I think that, like I said, in the longer term, that's going to be, I think, the bigger trend that we do see is that the market just simply will not tolerate the toxic issues, the security issues to their own information and to their own financial information and their funds. In the interest of safety, they're going to be switching to more decentralized options to trade on. And that's just the migration that I see. It's getting to the point now where, you're hearing about a hack every other month or whatever, and people losing a significant amount of their money. And I think that the liability that introduces will just be too odious to most people. Especially if they're introduced to cryptocurrencies initially with decentralized options. Such as a decentralized wallet or something to that effect. When their experience of Bitcoin is like that, as opposed to, say, on what's that fucking Coinbase account, if their first introduction to cryptocurrencies is a Coinbase account, for the most part, their experience of cryptocurrencies will be entirely similar with their experience of a bank, with the exception of appreciation and depreciation of their currencies that they hold. But that's not the only model that's available for transacting or trading cryptocurrencies. And the sooner that they become aware of those decentralized options, I think, as I said, the prospect of losing their funds to some hacker is enough to push them to those kind of options that don't have the same security profile. Anyway, I got this next article here on medium.com, and this is on Bitcoin Unlimited. This is by Awemany, and let's check and verify something really quick. Check and verify. Prospective Bitcoin Cash developer, following profile, latest, and apparently he's only got one thing here. Timestamped. Okay, no indication of penis or no penis, so we're just going to go with what we got here. 600 microseconds. A perspective from the Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Unlimited developer who discovered CVE-2018-17144. Introduction. 600 microseconds. That's about the time that Matt Carollo wanted to shave off of block validation with his pull request in 2016 to Bitcoin Core. 600 microseconds is a lot less than what is saved with more efficient block propagation like XThin, compact blocks, or now graphene over typical links, especially those that are of similar low-end quality in network speed like Raspberry Pis, are in compute speed. An optimization that was not in the focus by Core until XThen from Bitcoin Unlimited came onto the scene and kicked the Core team into gear on this issue. Furthermore, 600 microseconds is an order of magnitude or more below the variance between node validation speeds from a Raspberry Pi to a more high-end miner node, and thus wholly in the range that the network already deals with. This 600 microsecond optimization now resulted in CVE 2018-17144, certainly the most catastrophic bug in recent years, and certainly one of the most catastrophic bugs in Bitcoin ever. This bug was initially suspected to potentially cause inflation, was reported because it led to reliable crashes and confirmed by closer analysis to be actually allowing inflation. I have consistently and repeatedly criticized hubris and arrogance in the most prominent core developers, and done so since 2013 when the bullshitting around the 1 megabyte block size limit started. Here we have an optimization that talks about avoiding, quote, duplicate validation, like validation is nothing to worry about, an afterthought in Bitcoin, almost. And a change that is likely found to be good and peer-reviewed, ACK'd in core speak, in a rubber stamp-like manner by core developers such as Gregory Maxwell, developers which I fully respect for their intelligence and knowledge, by the way, but still, well, dislike as much for their own overblown egos and underhanded discussion style, as well as having done all they can to handicap Bitcoin with the 1 megabyte block size limit. I also have to be honest, this change creates an unavoidable element of suspicion in me. For anyone who knows what went down and what the code paths do, it is just unavoidable to have this thought here. I like to qualify that this is not what I assert nor think is happening, but definitely crosses my mind as a potentiality. Because what is better to destroy the value of Bitcoin in the public's eye than a silent inflation bug? What is better than creating code paths that look harmless for themselves, but combined with some other seemingly harmless rework in other areas of the code, result in utter catastrophe? And it looks like CVE 2018-17144 would eventually have become exactly this. The only thing that saved Core is their effective client diversity between revisions and someone actually noticing that there is a problem. After 2 years of this bug sitting around idle and exploitable, client diversity that has been much criticized on the Bitcoin Cash side of things, but it obviously shows its advantages now. Hear that, CSW? Regarding the title of the original PR, quote, remove duplicatable duplicate input check from check transaction, as well as the message therein, quote, benchmark results indicate this saves about 0.5 to 0.7 milliseconds during check block. Almost reads like it could be a sick joke being played on us all now. I always feared that someone from the bankster circles, someone injected into the Bitcoin development circles with the sole goal of wreaking unsalvageable havoc, would do exactly what happened, injecting a silent inflation bug, because that is what would destroy one of the very core advantages that Bitcoin has over the current status quo, that of transparency and verifiable money supply. And even though, as Bitcoin casher, I do not see true long-term prospectus prospects in Bitcoin/Bitcoin Cash anymore, calling the whole foundation of crypto into question is just like that would have been equally disastrous to our variant of Bitcoin. Now again, I am definitely not saying this is the case with PR 9049 for sure. I actually think the explanation of a young, cocky core developer, a new, quote, master of the universe wreaking havoc by sheer arrogance and hubris, is the more likely explanation. Actually, I think it's probably a meeting of the two, where you had an eager developer, naive new developer, and somebody directing them, who actually had the interest of inflating Bitcoin and told them what to do. People in general, but I don't even exclude myself here, tend to believe in the competence of others if they appear just self-assured enough. This is part of the problem with attitude and psychological dynamics in the space. It creates a dangerous aura of, these guys know what they're doing. Whatever. I told you guys many times in this space, if somebody is claiming to be an expert in Bitcoin or blockchain or cryptocurrencies, they are fucking lying to you. There are no experts here. I myself have done some minor work on sensitive areas in the Bitcoin Unlimited implementation, and I am working on some, quote, more consensus critical code for Bitcoin Cash now. See below. And yes, I sometimes do lose some sleep over what could go wrong. I know I make mistakes. I have done so. I will. We all do. But I have yet to see anything resembling an admission of being imperfect by the developer in question, or any other prominent core member for that matter. The folks in question know exactly who I mean. There must be more reasonable folks in core, but they are rather silent. Much worse even, the discussion on GitHub that follows this PR, user Free Trader, a well-known anonymous but still respected member of the Bitcoin Cash community who helped create the Bitcoin Cash initial fork, asked the very valid question, quote, could the Blue Mat / Z-Day Future, I don't know how to, DAF2R, I don't know, outline the responsible disclosure procedures, if any, that were attempted to other projects before publishing these pull requests, which is answered in the all too typical for core smug manner by Matt Corallo, notably the original author of the bug, who has all reason to be a bit more careful and respectful. The bug was disclosed to other projects simultaneously to it being disclosed to us. We tried to coordinate timelines for release, but sadly didn't want to wait much past the EST business hours to get people patched, so ran out of time. The bug was disclosed in an absolutely responsible manner, as even the full disclosure on BitcoinCore.org's own page notices. It went to a set of trustworthy people by the person who found the bug, and did so in an encrypted PGP message only. This leaves to the question, why Core recklessly endangered the security of Bitcoin Cash, as well as endangering the myriad of altcoins that are out there and still susceptible with this premature and hasty publication. The back references from altcoins merging the change trickling into PR 14247 are a glimpse into this process. Now Matt talks about, quote, running out of time in the above reply. But what time is that exactly? If you think hard about this, this can only be a distrust in any of the informed parties that they'll leak this secret prematurely and thus catch Bitcoin Core with their pants down, or worse, or as a worse assumption, be actually exploited by one of the informed parties against Bitcoin. Bitcoin Unlimited was ferociously attacked, presumably by the deranged Bitcoin supporters from the wider, quote, community when it had a bug, and it seems a bit like core members assumed a payback by deranged Bitcoin Cash supporters in kind here. I am not doubting these supporters exist. Given the hints in the original disclosure that this bug has actually been discovered by someone aligned with the Bitcoin Cash side of things, but not only that, Core seems to have assumed that members on the Bitcoin Cash side of things who have been informed are deranged or are at least irresponsible enough to leak this info to the wrong parties. What wrong parties? I like to applaud Dedelnix and the ABC team for what I was thinking the core team should have done here as well. Bury the fix in a bit more unrelated refactoring code so as to fix it, but also to buy some more time for an upgrade. Yeah. No, I wouldn't have done that at all. I would have disclosed it to everybody so that they can fix their fucking altcoins before the shit gets exploited. Maybe Core wasn't creative enough to see a way to hide the problem, but then they also had no reason to blur it out like they did here. This was very irresponsible, and this should reach any altcoin impacted by this. This is definitely solely Bitcoin Core's responsibility. No one else said anything in public before Core published their PR. It should also be noted that the core team that this creates a strong disincentive to keep them in the loop with initial disclosure for anyone finding a bug. Corey Fields has talked about the risks and dangers with regard to sitting on the knowledge of a 0 day on Bitcoin Cash, and this bug discussed herein is one that was worth at least 10 times more in potential damage, and thus also shorting value and angry deranged people, aka 31337 crypto trading bros, elite, capable of violence. If a party behaves this irresponsibly, it shouldn't be surprised if it degrades itself to a lower position in the food chain with regards to vulnerability disclosures. I'm not saying I won't inform the next time I might stumble on something, but this is not a good way to create the necessary trust. Actually, that kind of thing the loss of trust there kind of started when all the core people started blocking people on Twitter and fucking Reddit. The discovery and disclosure. Sitting in my little van by the sea on Monday, I was working on getting the new check.sig/-verify opcodes that are about to activate for Bitcoin Cash in November implemented on the Bitcoin Unlimited client. I have been looking at a potentially neat use case for those, and I am motivated to get this done. Around noon, I noticed that there is a lot of divergence in the way that signature operations counting was done in ABC versus how it was done in Bitcoin Unlimited. I agreed earlier with the BU team that I would go and port most of the CDS/-V stuff over from ABC, but I felt overwhelmed. My thoughts were that, okay, this is doable, but this needs a lot more analysis and also many more eyeballs for review, and will take a lot longer. Sigh. While doing so, I stumbled upon this comment in the ABC codebase. / check for duplicate inputs - note that this check is slow, so we skip it in check block. My initial reaction was a slight, what the fuck is going on with that comment? And then I looked up use cases for check regular transaction in ABC, which is the renamed variant of check transaction in Core, but I didn't know that at the time. I dug through the code to try to understand the logic. I noticed that block validation skips this test as it is assumed to already have happened during mempool ingress. My next thought was that a bit of a sinking feeling and an I really hope the folks from ABC have thought about the differences between the mempool and the block transmission, and that those are distinct ways into the system. there might be a problem here. And then I went and thought about a way to test this. I patched an ABC node to not relay transactions even when asked, and connected one unpatched and one patched node together in reg test mode, and created a transaction with a duplicate input, which the above test was skipping. Wham! Assert aborted. Next thought was along the lines, oh fuck, this doesn't look good. Gotta notify Dedelnix and the crew what is lurking in ABC. This doesn't look good at all! Exclamation, bunch of weird shit. Being aware of the danger that this could maybe be further exploited towards an actual inflation and chain splitting bug, but I didn't further check the specifics of this, as the node crash bug with assert failure was already enough to be worried about. I quickly and somewhat inaccurately noted to myself and timestamped, Bitcoin ABC does not check for duplicate inputs when processing a block, only when inserting a transaction into the mempool. This is dangerous, as blocks can be generated with duplicate transactions and sent through, ergo compact block missing transactions, and avoid hitting the mempool, creating money out of thin air. Footnote: I timestamped this message in the BU Slack, adding an innocuous situational lie of oops, wrong channel to it. I also tried timestamping my findings on my usual go-to site, originalstamp.org, but they only submit timestamps every 24 hours due to fees on Bitcoin being too high to do it more often. I guess I should maybe get into the habit of doing timestamping transactions myself. Opening up a disclosure email to Dedelnix, I started to have a thought of, quote, okay, actually, where is this stuff coming from, when, and where did they introduce it into the code? Might we be lucky and this is not in a release yet? And then I noticed that this stuff was coming from Core. Already having written a disclosure report, I rechecked whether Core was vulnerable as well. And wham, once again, wham, assert, aborted. I started to get shivers up my spine. Oh no, Core has a crash bug, potentially worse. Stuff in the code since 2016. Not good at all. I like to say here that I actually had a feeling that of this is bad, not this is good because of Core versus Cash or something like that. I unfortunately still own, for my own per soul, significant amount of Bitcoin, and for that reason and others do not like having bugs in Core either. Being a responsible citizen in this space, I then wrote the encrypted disclosure email to Vladimir, Sickpig, and some others, attaching a variant of the ABC and the Core patch to exploit this problem to my disclosure. I also put in a Bitcoin Cash address for a bounty payment to myself into that email, disclosed as proof below, as I feel this should be something worth a little performance bonus. No money has been received at the time of this writing yet. If you want to change this, you can send some Bitcoin Cash to me here. I'm not going to read the address. I chose to handle Beard and Boobies as I chose the handle Beard and Boobies as this is the first thing that came into my mind when I thought about this very discovery here. I thought, okay, I am slowly becoming a pale nerd working on just code with a beard and man boobs. Oh well, I have noticed that this handle was, for whatever reason, taken out of the release notes that are checked into the main development branch of Bitcoin Core and is only available in the release branch /tag, being replaced with an anonymous contributor on the main branch. I wonder, do you Core guys feel this is too unprofessional to have the pseudonym appear in the main branch? Have some humor, please. By the way, a plea. I urge anyone in Bitcoin Cash as well as Bitcoin, as well as impacted altcoins, to take a fine-tooth comb, this means you, Justin, through the code with the general goal of looking for similar issues. More specifically, I faintly remember, though I may be wrong, from discussions back with core devs on Reddit in 2016 and before, that the idea that there's a lot of, quote, duplicate validation between mempool and block validation was kind of en vogue back then. Potentially more code is vulnerable because it assumes that mempool validation can stand in for block validation. I suspect more, though maybe not as grave bugs in this area. You know what? This sounds like the exploit that was pulled on Verge, but I could be wrong. Reactions. After I submitted it, I felt relief, and then I started to watch the space from the back. A weird situation. Only then do I fully realize what core contributor Corey Fields described with a bit of a different angle on a smaller scale. The weirdness of having found a bug that you know is worth millions at least, massively impacting a $100 billion currency. The fact that I could have gone and rented hash power and shorted Bitcoin and exploited this, but also the fact that I didn't. Vladimir eventually wrote me an email that they're preparing releases, and at that time around it they published the PR. So I responded expressing my astonishment of the quite public handling of this serious issue. What I was amazed by in general was the long time it took for the bug to blow up in its full proportions, with the process seemingly even not over now. One thing is certainly others digging into this and realizing the full severity of this. As it turns out, yes, it can be used to do a double spend and inflate Bitcoin after all. But also the time it takes from the initial pull release being public, seemingly not noticed at all, and the first media article being written. And then I noticed the usual spin. The, quote, stupid Bcashers can't code and are irresponsible and whatnot angle. That is all too often repeated by them seemingly cerebrally insufficient core supporters. I quote the below to gloat maybe, but also to show the world that what kind of bullshit the Bitcoin Cash side of things is facing here in constant barrage. This is just from a few of the more prominent core supporters and devs. There is, of course, a lot more folks foaming Bcash at the mouth on Reddit and Twitter. Tone Vase and Jimmy Song. Here we have Tone Vase, who likes to pose with the undercurrent of violence by wielding weapons on Twitter and apparently also on YouTube, discussing this bug with Jimmy Song in an unwillingly hilarious YouTube video. Transcript of one funny part which with emphasis mine, starting approximately at 2041, Jimmy Song. It was a really big deal. And scroll up a little bit. FT Trader, sick. So FT Trader is actually like a Bitcoin ABC developer. So like he's kind of trying to troll a little bit. But this affects a lot of other projects as well because they copy code from core laughter. So, just something to think about. Dettlenix is another one. Tone Vase interjecting, another troll! Jimmy Song, yeah, another. Sick pig, another troll. So, Sejors is actually like, he's a dev, Pierre has been helping out, keeping track of what needs to do. What? Free Trader is, as said, a long member of the Bitcoin and now Bitcoin Cash community, and so is Sick Pig. And the quote troll Sick Pig is actually one of the people I have responsibly disclosed this bug to. He is Bitcoin Unlimited member like Free Trader as well, and developer, and he did not do any of the irresponsible action here, unlike Core. Their supposed trolling seems to merely consist of not agreeing with Core's path taken. I add a bit of speculation here. And this is the author saying that, actually. What is a bit interesting about this disclosure is that this seems to elucidate a bit of structure of Bitcoin Core and the presumed, quote, Dragon's Den connected to them for their supposed PR campaigns. Their command and campaign structure is illuminated a bit, if you want, and one can clearly see that the inner core circle has a list of folks that they trust more because these folks kept quiet about the bug and the source of this bug. Likely because they indicated to them that it might come from the Bitcoin Cash side and that it might be unwise to go too far with one's assertions, as the danger of tripping over one's outlandish exclamations is real. I left enough hints in the initial disclosure that it came from the Bitcoin Cash side of things to prime them about this. But it also looks to me like Jimmy Song and Tone Vase are not in these inner circles from Core. I suspect that it is the lack of competence and that some Core members ascribe to them, which helps them from having access to more privileged information. These members should think hard why they play the role they do for the inner core team and might want to reassess their political alignment. That all said, I don't want Tone Vase suddenly praising the advantages of Bitcoin Cash on YouTube. Luke Jr. I like to say some words about this tweet of Luke Jr. committing the sin of bearing false witness about us irresponsible, quote, B-cashers. Luke Jr. Hopefully now that it's clear Bitcoin Cash does not cooperate in responsible disclosure, security researchers will stop CCing them on confidential security reports. They can wait to find out about it until responsible networks like #Bitcoin have upgraded safely. Luke Jr. Responsible disclosure, i.e. keeping it confidential until the network is patched, is a good thing, not a bad thing. And you're adding only to that. It's not lying to say a DOS is an issue. Blah, blah, blah. And that's from, and I didn't follow that up. I suspect Luke Jr. has been left in the dark about the background of this disclosure as well, not belonging to the innermost circles either. Careful observers might have noticed even more of this dynamic happening with other people. And note again, I have done everything that is necessary to make this a responsible disclosure. The initial unobfuscated public disclosure happened by Bitcoin Core on their GitHub. This is exactly the opposite situation to what Luke Jr. is describing. This is despicable. Closing remarks. Apart from pointing out the insane spin of some core supporters in the preceding part, I simply want to take the opportunity now to urge caution for everyone here. Bugs lurk everywhere. Everyone is imperfect, myself included, of course. I started to like Jihan Wu's credo of, quote, don't play hatred, don't wish competing coins ill, just wish and try to make Bitcoin Cash better, from Twitter, and see Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin in fierce but still civil competition. Civil competition obviously meaning no violence, including no violence like attacking each other's nodes. I like to reiterate that despite the gloating and strong words you might find in this article, I did everything to play fair. I also agree in general with Corey Fields from Core that this is not very easy to it is not very easy to find the necessary disclosure addresses and information. He's right about the lack of easily available GPG keys both on Bitcoin Cash as well. I like to add, on the Bitcoin side of things, I didn't find a non-retracted key of Peter Wheel in time. I also like to note that a few things went finally completely out of the window here with this bug. For example, Core's idea of, quote, the code being law. If the code is law, does that mean you have to accept inflation now? Or is it actually the Core devs steering the ship? Is an element of reasonableness entering this space? And yes, I sincerely believe, despite the current price ratio, that Bitcoin Cash has a much brighter future than Bitcoin by being fundamentalists on the principles that matter and that came along with the original white paper, while not being fundamental on the things that were created post hoc, like the 1 megabyte, now 4 megabyte weight limit on the Bitcoin Core implementation. I also don't think extended inflation is crucial for Bitcoin's operation, and I happen to agree with the author here. But anyone is free to buy or sell as they want. Let's continue competing. Let's civilly inform each other of bugs. May the best chain win. Finally, I'd like to thank Andrea Suasani, Andrew Stone, and Peter Risen for the review of this article and valuable input. Very, very good. We're going to give that some claps on Medium. Oh, damn it, Jim. I'm not signed in. Anyway, I would definitely give that some claps. That was Awemany, was the author of that. And certainly an exhaustive review, both of past and present situations here in cryptocurrency. And I think he's absolutely right on here that, this is something that affects all of us. And so the idea of keeping it cloistered and hidden away until it could possibly be exploited on somebody else's coin or network, is fucked up. And if you're inclined to act that way, I'd rather you not be in crypto. Not that I have a choice in the matter. But, this is about all of us. It's not about some cloistered group of fucking white kids. It's about all of us. I am the market, yeah. Shit. Man. This is just referring back to some notifications that I got on Twitter. But yeah, so there you have it. Wrapping up this episode, and in doing so, I'd just like to tell you guys that you are the market, all of you, and that means every aspect of it is yours. It's not just IBM's, it's not just Goldman Sachs's or any of those other entrenched interests. It's yours. It's the guy or girl sitting behind the computer or sitting on a tablet or a cell phone who is connected, who is connecting to us and is doing transactions on these networks. It's all of you, because all of you have a potential of doing so, whether or not you're currently doing so yourself. And I think that is probably the most important thing about cryptocurrencies. It's not even about who's saying what. It's about who's doing what. What are you doing right now? Can you be doing more with your time to enhance and enrich yourself? And if so, why aren't you? Get the fuck on board, kid. It's not like this ship is going to get any smaller. It's going to get nothing but bigger and have even more room for you in the future. But that's only going to happen if you start getting in and throwing your elbows around. Because we need you here. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very, very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I'd like you all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody is going to do it for you, not even Core. Thank you again for listening, and as far as our last dance is concerned, I haven't picked one out, so I'm kind of searching right now. And I really think this one is probably appropriate, but I need to drag it out just a teeny tiny longer because it's not exactly 4 or 5 minutes, and we've got approximately that left. It's about 5 minutes in the show. But yeah, any of the articles that I've read, if you're interested in, I read out the title of the site that it's on, as well as the title of the article. So looking those up, you should be able to find them. And thank you again for listening, man. I really do appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, in the Telegram chat room for Verge Currency, and also in the Discord chan. And so yeah, like I said, we'll be back on Monday. Be sure to tune in. And so for our last dance, Within the Ruins, Elite, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening.